Ladies and gentlemen, in November of 1966, an issue of The Flash titled One Bridegroom Too Many was released, and on the 2nd of August of 2017, a decent amount of information came to be known about the 2017 Arrowverse crossover event, and somehow it feels like both the comic book issue and the crossover event will be connected, even with both being timed exactly 51 years apart. Now, while the crossover event is a whole few months away, with the announcements made when it comes to it, it's kind of fair game to start speculating. Remember though, this is nothing more than speculating, so I'm not confirming anything beyond what was confirmed by the producers. Alright, so the 4-night crossover will be coming to our screens over 2 nights, the first being Monday, November 27th, and the second being Tuesday, November 28th. Now, for the purpose of the crossover event, Arrow will be making a move to Monday night to follow Supergirl's episode. But to dig further into what we know so far about the crossover event, Mark Guggenheim has stated, and I quote, "We're really approaching this big 4-part event as 2 back-to-back 2-hour movies, and I think when you look at it through that lens, it becomes less important for the Supergirl episode to feel like a Supergirl episode, and the Arrow episode to feel like an Arrow episode, which was always our approach in the past." So the take here is kind of really simple. On last season's crossover, Supergirl had only a quick 2-minute scene that was part of the entire crossover, and Arrow's episode had a major Arrow-centric arc baked into the invasion arc. It is pretty clear from Mark Guggenheim's statement that's not gonna be the case this year. Pretty much, we're not gonna be seeing this kind of show independence when it comes to the crossover. No show-specific arc baked into the major crossover arc. But on another note, when asked for a teaser about the crossover event, the president of the CW network, Mark Pedowitz, stated, "Romance is in the air." And while this statement sounds a little bit cryptic, Greg Berlanti, executive producer of The Flash, went to expanding on that by stating, "Our way of making the show bigger this year was to go even more personal. So it's a big life event for a few different people on the show. There are many life events that happen." Considering I'm kind of pretty sure the crossover event will be turning the 4 shows into some sort of a rom-com, I'm kind of tempted to ask this one specific question. Are Barry and Iris getting their wedding on the crossover event, and will that event somehow evolve around said wedding? For starters, it's a good way for Supergirl to kick off the event by being on Earth 1. If all of Barry's and Team Flash, Super, and Vigilante friends are gonna make it to that wedding, then it only makes sense Kara Danvers will be invited. But that also brings me back to One Bridegroom Too Many, and what that could possibly mean for the part of The Flash Season 4 that would be airing before the crossover event. The 1966 comic book issue starts with Barry 1 night prior to his wedding, still unable to make his mind on whether or not to tell Iris he's the Flash. In this version of pre-crisis events as well, both of Barry's parents are alive and well and around to attend his wedding, but I'm guessing both of these aspects of the storyline are of no consequence to whatever may go down on the crossover or in Season 4 in general. Now, in the meanwhile, the Reverse Flash has been imprisoned in the future, has worked his way to use futuristic technology to gain both his speed back and switch places with Barry Allen in the 20th century. This process pretty much had them both traveling in time, in opposite directions as well, with Barry taking his place in a cell and Thawne pretty much taking over Barry's life. The Reverse Flash then uses a matter distributor to change his features and look like Barry Allen, sort of like HR's transmography tech from the 3rd season. And while Eobard back in the 20th century played his role as the Flash, the night he switched places with Barry and then played the role of Barry as he headed to his wedding and arrived at the venue, Barry managed to escape his future prison, ran fast enough, and traveled back in time. Arriving at his own wedding, he finds Thawne, looking exactly like him and taking his place as the groom, runs in, pulls him out of the wedding, takes him as far away as possible, and they start fighting over who would end up with this life and married to Iris. Now, as Barry pretty much almost takes down the Reverse Flash, Thawne suddenly vanishes as the Flash hears the voices of members from the authorities in the future, apologizing for the mix-up and taking their prisoner back. The arc then comes to an end with Barry making it back to his wedding, marrying Iris, and heading out on their way to spend their honeymoon. Now there are probably so many ways the show could go with such an arc, but there's only one of them that really got my attention. Eobard Thawne could be the one, and as suspected by many fans, who makes it out of the Speed Force early on in the events of Season 4. He would masquerade as Barry, take his place, and live his life for 7 long episodes before we get to realize Barry is not really Barry. It would even be a greater idea if they mix up several arcs as well, like this one for example, and the one where he kills Iris, of course without the killing part. In The Last Dance issue from 1979, it is revealed that Thawne actually has feelings for Iris, which the show could kind of build up from the moments he comes back as Barry and up until the moment they would get married. I could actually imagine Iris trying to speed up things with their wedding to bring some joy into their lives after all they've been through. And of course Thawne would agree, because if Barry were to be in his place, he would as well. Besides that, when you think about it, what better way to give the ultimate finger to Barry Allen than marrying his girl? And that would be right about the time when Barry would actually come back from the Speed Force, make it in time to stop the wedding. The show, or in fact the 4 shows, will of course have to spice it up a whole lot for it to fit into 4 hours and work on the finer details. It's just that the whole one bridegroom too many storyline was the first thing that popped on my mind as soon as I read Pedowitz and Berlanti's comments. Then again, they've teased a lot of life events happening, so this could be nothing or could just be one of many, making it some sort of a themed crossover with multiple arcs, rather than a solid arc. So do let me know in the comments what you think of all of that. Do you believe it is a possibility that we see that version of things, and that the arc might be all about that, or at least partially about it? Do let me know as well if you liked this video by dropping me a much appreciated like, and while you're at it, you could also subscribe to my channel and enable notifications. But until I see you next time, thank you all for watching and have a great day.